All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 are brought to us by our official beer of choice. You see, I got the hat on. It's Friday. I rock the Johnny Cuba hat. Johnny Cuba, go pick yourself up a six-pack right now at your local Sedano's, Presidente, Winn-Dixie, Fresco y Mas. Of course, we're talking European roots with a Caribbean style. Start your weekend. Start your Friday afternoon. Come on, with a refreshing German lager and a can. And don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Joining us here, we all know at this point, it's Friday, but I'm in a great mood because the Panthers had probably their best win of the season last night. 6-3, they hang on against the Capitals. Got a little hairy there late in the third period. Florida hockey now is George Richards. Nobody covers the Panthers better than George. He joins us here. So it did, right? It got a little bit hairy there in the third period. What have you noticed before we actually talk about last night's game? What have you noticed? I think we're talking 5 wins in their last 7 games at this point, maybe 6 of 8. I'm losing track, but it's their best stretch of the season. So what are you noticing right now that we haven't seen earlier?
Well, they're getting goaltending. That's one big thing. And good morning, Zaz. When you look at the Panthers in November, they were getting a lot of goals. They were creating a lot of offense, but the goaltending was absolutely terrible. Sergei Bobrovsky did not look like an NHL goaltender. Spencer Knight would come in, and then the Panthers couldn't score. They're starting to put it all together now. First, they're getting goals, and now they're getting really good goaltending. Sergei Bobrovsky looks like he has in the past, and he really has since December. He worked through some things. But now the team's really getting it together. The power play's gone dark, but the penalty kill has been really good. They're just, finding their way. And again, like you said, they've won 5 out of the last 7 games. And they're playing their best hockey of the year, and it comes at not the perfect. It is the perfect time, but it's the only time because they go on a losing streak right now. They're done.
What have you noticed the team's attitude toward Paul Maurice has been? Because it's obviously been a very shaky adjustment. Maybe it's starting to come together now. I don't know. We'll see. But it's obviously been a very shaky adjustment. Has the team bought into Paul Maurice, and it's just a matter of working it out and getting used to this new style? Like, what have you noticed as far as his relationship with the team?
No, it looks to be good. I mean, you see this team play for him every night, right? I mean, I've been around Panther teams who didn't like their coach and they flat out quit, and you could tell. I mean, you could see the quit and the complete lack of a desire. Hockey players can quit on a coach, and they haven't done that. This team is, obviously they've played hard throughout. Things didn't go their way all the time, and you may not like the results, but the effort was there, and I think that they like Paul Maurice. Not just a like thing. I mean, it's not a personality thing because nobody has a bad word to say about Paul Maurice, the person. But he's been around this league for 25 years. I mean, he started his first head coaching gig was with the Hartford Whalers. So that's how far back he goes as a head coach. He's seen everything, every situation. And listen, this came from up top, that the Panthers wanting to change their style of game. Last year, they were high flying and they just came at you and they'd score 6 goals, but you might give up 7. They didn't very often, but they needed to change some things if they wanted to be successful in the playoffs. And I know the critics will say, well, get to the playoffs first. Listen, we saw what happened last year. I mean, and against Washington, they were this close to being down 3-1 in that first round series to the 8th seeded Washington Capitals. And then they just get stoned by Tampa Bay, and they're in round 2. So they had to change something. They couldn't continue that style. They made a lot of changes. They've had some injuries. You've missed Sasha Barkov for a long stretch. You've missed a bunch of players for long stretches. So they're healthy now. They're getting right back, and we'll see what happens. But again, they've got very little margin for error right now.
One of the frustrating things about this season, if you're a Panther fan, has been it really seems the Panthers far and away won the Matthew Tkachuk trade, and they're still behind what they were last year. Like, that's crazy to think about that they won it by a landslide. How much of that do you believe is they sold high on Huberdeau, and now you're getting the lack of production there, compared to maybe Calgary's just been a bad fit for Huberdeau and here was a great fit? Like, did they actually sell at the right moment for Huberdeau, you think?
Yeah, and I would have said that if Huberdeau had 80 points right now. I mean, I think that they were looking long term when it came to Huberdeau. They love Jonathan Huberdeau. Everybody on this team loves Jonathan Huberdeau.
I'm wearing a
It
Jonathan
sounds
Huberdeau shirt right now. On the back,
yeah,
it
I mean,
says
and nobody,
Huberdeau.
nobody's got any dislike for Jonathan Huberdeau, but the facts of the matter was he scored 115 points last year, a career high season. He wanted an 8-year max deal at the max amount of money. Now, Sasha Barkov's making $10 million a season, and there was thoughts that Huberdeau wanted a little bit more. Now, Florida doesn't have taxes. Maybe he would have come in at 10, just like Barkov. We don't know. Regardless, the Panthers did not want to give him an 8-year deal. Not at 30 years old, not the way his game is styled. His game is not going to age well. We think at 33 years old, Jonathan Huberdeau might be done. And the Florida Panthers almost had, we're stuck in a corner with that deal because what do you do? What do you do with Jonathan Huberdeau? He's your all-time leading scorer. Everybody loves him. You could have lost him as a free agent. Instead, Matthew Tkachuk comes on the free agency market, like not free agency, but he tells Calgary, I'm not re-signing with you guys. Trade me. Nobody saw that coming. They thought Tkachuk was going to stay in Calgary, and the Florida Panthers were able to turn, Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar, two guys with 1 year left on their deal. Florida was only going to be able to sign one of them, and it probably was going to be just because you had to Huberdeau. They didn't want to. I think they were going to offer Huberdeau a 4 or 5 year deal, and he may have balked at that. So, and now you get Matthew Tkachuk. You're paying him the same money, less money than you would have paid Jonathan Huberdeau. You're paying him for his prime years, not what he did for you in 2019. You're paying Matthew Tkachuk moving forward. He's 25 years old, 8-year deal. This guy is, a heartbeat kind of guy. So Florida Panthers set themselves up for the future, not today, but down the road with Tkachuk.
That Canadian hockey media is no joke. So, like,
no, and he's never had to deal with that.
Yeah, so if Huberdeau's in the first year of, I think, like I said, 7 or 8 year deal, and this is the production, 8 years, so he's got 7 more years there. Like he may be in some big trouble.
No, Zaz, it hasn't even kicked in yet. That's what people in Calgary are going up. They're like, the contract hasn't even started yet.
And so he's in big trouble there as far as the media goes, right?
Looks like it. Yeah.
Wow, that's
one reason why, people always said Jonathan Huberdeau wants to go play in Montreal. He's from, I was like, no, he does not want to go play in Montreal. He's got the best thing going right now, right? He's an NHL player who spends his summers in Montreal, but he doesn't play for the Canadiens. So he's, the hero of the Florida Panthers. He can go out to dinner. He can do whatever he wants, sign autographs, take pictures. Now, Jonathan Huberdeau, if he doesn't score, the reporters are at his locker stall. Why didn't you score? Why didn't you get a point? Da 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 da. Whereas we just kind of left him alone. Oh, Jonathan Huberdeau didn't have a great game today. He didn't do it. He didn't do anything to hurt the team. Didn't help the team. Whatever. Leave him alone. We got other people to talk to. There, every game, what happened? What's going on? What's going on? He has a -3. He goes to dinner in Calgary. People are like, what happened last night, Jonathan Huberdeau? He never had to deal with that here.
Yeah, that's a great point. My favorite part of the game last night was not just Mark Stahl scoring his first goal of the year, but it was Matthew Tkachuk's reaction to Mark Stahl scoring his first goal of the year. So is that an example right there as far as what a great teammate Tkachuk has been?
That was pure unadulterated joy, wasn't it? I mean, that was not fake it, I mean, Matthew Tkachuk's reaction to Mark Stahl getting his first goal in almost a year, 11 months, almost to the day, since Mark Stahl got a goal. And you see Tkachuk down at the goal, leaps into the air, races over, gives him a big hug. Paul Maurice joked that Mark Stahl came to the bench and with a smile on his face as if that was number 30, not number 1. So they were having some fun with it. But yeah, no. Matthew Tkachuk's attitude is infectious with this team. He plays like Ryan Lomberg, only with a lot more skill and a lot more scoring. He's the, like we said, when the Panthers acquired him, it was like, listen, we watched that Tampa Bay series when Jonathan Huberdeau, and I know this sounds like I'm ragging on Huberdeau, and I'm not. They're two different kinds of players. When Jonathan Huberdeau was not scoring in the playoffs, did you notice him? Did you notice Jonathan Huberdeau in that Tampa Bay series at all?
No.
You did not, because he was invisible. If he's not scoring, and he's not moving when there's no space. What else does he do?
Right.
Now he's an elite scorer, but that's all. Matthew Tkachuk scores. He gets dirty. He's going to get in your face. He's going to draw penalties. You saw it last night. He ticked off one. I forget which Washington guy it was. TJ Oshie.
Oshie, yeah.
He gets TJ Oshie to get going, and Oshie's in the penalty box. Gets a 2-minute roughing. Gets a 2-minute unsportsmanlike, and Tkachuk's laughing all the way to the faceoff circle because he's in the power play. Yep. He started the whole thing. So. It's been a nice addition to the team. And again, this team's going to be different next year. They're going to, they don't have the salary cap problems they have this year. They're going to have a full complement of players. Next year is the year they're looking at as being like, yeah, the Panthers are, going to do something. Now this year they still could, we'll see, but they knew this year would be a step back.
Anthony Duclair, are we getting close?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anthony Duclair has been practicing full practices with the team. When they do have full practices, they don't have many of those on the road because you have morning skates, and that's just, shoot around like, So we're going to see. They're talking about perhaps next week the Panthers we think have to make a roster move. I don't know how the money's going to work because the Panthers are so close to the salary cap. Even though you've got $5 million off the books from Patrick Hornquist, the Panthers have been using that $3 million that Anthony Duclair hasn't been using. So they might be a little bit underneath over the cap. We'll have to wait and see, but it looks like he might be back next. I don't expect him to be on the ice Monday. The Panthers have a 1:00 game Monday afternoon against Anaheim. I think they did, but next week they only play 2 games, Monday and Thursday. So you're going to have 1 or 2 days of practice. I think we might see Anthony Duclair at the end of next week.
Where could he slide in, you think?
I don't know, because you might put him on that second line again. You might try to ease him in. I don't know. I think the bottom 6 can rotate a bunch of guys around. But right now the top 2 lines look pretty set, especially once Sam Bennett comes back. He may play tomorrow in Nashville. We'll have to wait and see what they say today. But I don't know. I think, listen, Anthony Duclair has played up and down the Panthers lineup since he's gotten here. He's played on the left side, the right side, first line, fourth line. They'll find a place for him. Eric Stahl was talking about him the other day, just how great he looks out there on the ice. The Panthers really could use that speed. Doesn't look like he's lost a step when it comes to that Achilles. That's the thing you worry about, because usually that's an injury Jonathan Huberdeau had, and now Huberdeau had a severed Achilles tendon. I think Duclair just got hurt, working out or whatever. So that's a different deal. But Huberdeau lost a step. It took Huberdeau about a year to get back fully. You hope that Anthony Duclair, the time they've given him to get back, he got hurt, I believe, in June. So it's been 8 months now since he's been recovering from that. So he should be okay.
Finally here, George Richards, FloridaHockeyNow.com. Are the Panthers going to make the playoffs?
I think I've said yes. I don't know. I mean, now you're looking at Detroit has won 5 in a row.
We're tied now. We're finally tied. I mean, I know Washington.
Yeah, no. They've made up a lot. They've made up a lot of ground, but they've also played a lot more games than some of these other teams. Buffalo, you look at the Buffalo Sabres, a very young team. Finally, after 10 years of rebuilding, Buffalo's very hungry. Let's see what Buffalo does at the trade deadline, if they're all in, or if they're just content with continuing the build. There's a lot of competition. I mean, I think Pittsburgh is far and away the number 1 wild card spot. So you've got Florida, Washington, the Islanders, Detroit, and Buffalo all going for one spot. It's going to be tough for the Panthers. But if they keep playing the way they are, they're more talented than all of those teams. If they keep getting the kind of games they get from Bobrovsky, they should be able to, like I said, they've won 5 out of 7. If they can keep up that pace, they're good.
Could we see a trade, or because we don't have draft picks, the salary cap is a whole situation?
Yeah.
Like, is Bill Zito strapped
here? It's a
here?
whole deal.
Is he strapped as far as trades?
The Panthers are either going to pull off a blockbuster that nobody saw coming, or they'll just, get somebody for a 4th round pick or whatever, that kind of thing. I don't expect them to do much of anything at the trade deadline, unless they were to lose 6 in a row, and maybe you see them deal off a couple of veteran players to give them an opportunity. But as long as the Panthers are in the mix, they'd love to be buyers. They just can't be because of the salary cap situation, and they have really no capital to be big time players. They already did that last year. Last year they traded a first round pick for Ben Sherratt. They traded a first round pick for Claude Giroux. This year they traded a first round pick for Matthew Tkachuk. So they don't have any first round picks until 2027 or something like that. I know in the NBA they trade way into the future. The NHL really doesn't do that. So the Panthers, like people around the NHL, are like, well, what if you don't? The Panthers don't care. They're trying to win right now. They're not worried about the first round picks. But again, they don't have them to trade.
Yeah.
And that kind of, that hurts them when it comes into the market.
George, tell everybody how they can catch all your Panthers coverage. Go ahead.
Yeah, check us out, FloridaHockeyNow.com. We're the only place where you can get daily coverage of the Florida Panthers every single day. We're there. You can follow me on Twitter at George Richards, and go to the Florida Hockey Now YouTube channel. It's got all your Panther video stuff on there.
Great job, George. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bud. We'll see you later, bud.